Ron Johnson is a candidate who is running for senator in Wisconsin. In fact, he is running against Russ Feingold. And he is a Trump supporter, which is why he spoke at the RNC just recently. Now, interestingly enough, there were some consequences for speaking at the RNC. It turns out that the Koch brothers, who were planning on funding a $2.2 million ad buy, have now pulled out. So according to the Huffington Post, the Koch-backed Freedom Partners Action Fund, which had previously reserved $2.2 million in airtime for Johnson, yanked its ad buy completely. Now, this shouldn't really come as a surprise when you consider the fact that the Koch brothers had spoken out against Donald Trump earlier this year, saying that in some cases they think it would actually be better to help fund Hillary Clinton's campaign as opposed to Donald Trump's.
Now, nonetheless, it is a dramatic move. So it's one thing to say, hey, we're not backing Donald Trump, we're going to sit this one out, which is the sense that the Koch brothers were giving us earlier. It's another thing to say Hillary Clinton, not so bad. It should be a little disconcerting to a lot of people involved. It's a third thing to say, if you speak at Donald Trump's convention, I will pull your money. Now, let's talk about the ramifications of that. Number one, do you really need any more proof of how corrupt this system is? That, hey, if you don't do exactly as your billionaire donors tell you to do, there will be consequences. So that's not about Ron Johnson. That's about everybody else who takes money from the Koch brothers. Now they know. They just sent them a memo. Don't you dare do anything without our permission. If you do it without our permission, that will cost you millions of dollars, and then you might lose your election. Now, who do you think's in charge? The donors are in charge.
Yeah.
Now, the second part of it is that is very consequential, is apparently the Koch brothers' distaste for Donald Trump is more significant than we realized. Now, if that's the case, they've got $900 million that they raised for this election to spend on this election. Now, it's one thing for them to sit it out and give that back to themselves and to their other incredibly wealthy donors that they collected it from. It's another thing to go, maybe I spend it on someone else in the presidential election. Yeah. Now, remember, what are the Koch brothers? Largely, according to them, libertarians. Now, is there a libertarian candidate in the race? Yes. Is he now viable? Well, at 12%, you can begin to make that argument. You throw a couple $100 million of that 12% and see maybe if it gets up to 21, 31 in a 3-person race, a 4-person race. Yeah. Now, if the Republican donors are at war and you've got Adelson and some of the others backing Trump, and you got the Koch brothers possibly backing someone else and punishing anyone who helps Trump, oh boy, then we got a whole different race on our hands.
That is just, I think, what Jefferson and Madison had in mind.
Yeah, they're like, let us do a democracy and then hand it right over to the richest people in the country so that they can make sure that no one else has a voice, that the only people talking are the incredibly wealthy because they get to buy all of the ads, they get to buy the largest megaphones and completely shut you out of the process. And nailed it. That's exactly what Jefferson and Madison were
because
thinking.
Regarding the Senate race, Trump's strategy is that you don't need to buy ad time, you don't need to have a campaign, you'll just rely on the free airtime. But don't forget, this is the most obvious thing in the world, but in the Senate race like Wisconsin, you need ad time.
Yeah,
there's no free airtime for Russ Feingold and Ron Johnson.
So that's what we've been talking about a lot. People get too misdirected, understandably so, by the presidential race. Presidential race, there's billions of dollars in free media. Where money has its biggest effect is the smaller races, state races, local races, where you can just go in and go, okay, I buy all the ads, or I buy 65% of the ads. Plenty enough to crush your megaphone with my megaphone. And then what my megaphone says, whether it's true or it's not true, is irrelevant because you won't be able to counter it. You don't have enough money to buy enough ads to tell everybody that I'm lying. Ha ha, sorry, I win, you lose because I have more money. That happens at the local level all the time. And this Koch brothers memo that they just sent to all Republican politicians in the world, in the country, maybe the press hasn't quite picked it up. The voters certainly don't see it on a regular basis, but every Republican politician just got that memo. Don't cross the Koch brothers, and they are not happy with Donald Trump.